My name is Brian Cripe. I'm a locomotive engineer with the Norfolk Southern Railway. I've been there 25 years. I've got a wife named Brittany, and we have 6 children between the two of us, and now we have 3 grandchildren that we're raising. You know, it can be a very rewarding job. I know a lot of people think it's glamorous, but sometimes, some nights it's not. It can be very rewarding though, because you know when you're moving a lot of freight, you're responsible for basically moving America. I know we have a little funny saying. We say, "Well, I'm going out to feed the world tonight." You know, well, it's kind of true. I mean, a lot of businesses respond on us getting our freight there. And when you move a freight train across the country and you get 100 cars of whatever products to some company, and they rely on you, and you're getting there on time safe, there's a lot of reward in that.
So I wanted to have a conversation today about a phrase that we often say here at St. Paul's. It's "we will tell." It's Psalm 78, but we often talk about that in building the home, but God calls us to tell in more than just our home. Yes, the home is a primary place. How have you seen God use you in your role at work?
You know, me being a Christian, and I wear it on my sleeve. I don't pull any punches with the guys. I know there's very few of us, so I guess that's why it kind of alienates us. But I think that a lot of people just they see me, and it's funny because if there's a crossword puzzle that's got a religious question, I'm the first person they say, "Hey, Brian, come here, I need this." Or if we're sitting at the lunch table at work and we have a little discussion, inevitably there's always somebody that will say, "Oh, that's silliness. You know, a flood, that's silliness." You know what I mean? But when you can come and when you can refute that, and you can say, "Well, here's what the Bible says, but here's some proof. You know, here's you know, did you know that these were eyewitnesses that wrote the New Testament books? Did you know?" And when you say things like that to people that have never heard that it's just, you know, they look at you in a whole different light. So I think it's a good way for me to evangelize and you know, show and possibly maybe influence somebody. You know, give a little nudge to people out there.
I love how you said you wear it on your sleeve, right? That this idea of you understand that this is a calling for you to live out not just an hour a week or in certain places, but you know, in your everyday life.
Yes. It's like I said, it's kind of a hostile environment, and I think if you know, if there's 2 or 3 of us out there that are Christians, and we can just, you know, show a little love and show a little God's grace out there, I think that's what we're called to do.
Yeah. Now, so that understanding of this is a whole life thing, living out who you are as a Christian, as a child of God, is that something that you've always understood and lived out, or is there kind of a time when you kind of like were struck by like, "Oh man, I'm not quite doing this. I need to be doing this better"?
I'll tell you honestly, there's a definite time in my life, and it goes back to you know, I've grown up in the church all my life. I went to a little church here in town, Lutheran church, and I've always been a believer ever since I was young. But honestly, I didn't really, and I tell people this and they think I'm crazy, but it's the truth. When I got to St. Paul's, nice little SPL plug here, but my faith went from here to here. Because my little church before, we really didn't have the small groups, we didn't have the community outreach. And as I started getting into the classes and the things here, and you know, my eyes were really opened up. I talked to some other people, and I kind of got into the men's ministry and things like that. And then I started, wow, I really need to research more. I really need to, because this church is all about getting out there and spreading the word and evangelizing. I thought, I need to get a little more prepared if I'm going to do that. Yeah. So that kind of sparked my interest in, maybe I should start studying some apologetics. Maybe I need to do more devotionals, you know, more family devotionals. And so that whole process just really, like I said, took me from here to here. And I'm so thankful for this church for doing that for me and my family.
Maybe you have a specific example of a time when you saw and that impact that had and someone's life, and maybe it wasn't right away, but it was later down the road. How have you seen that?
Well, definitely. There was an individual that I worked with, And we had one of those tough conversations, and it ended up where we talked a little bit about, well, I just brought the point up about, the disciples and how they were eyewitnesses to the death and resurrection of Christ. And we talked a little bit. Well, that kind of led into his daughter, who has some learning disabilities and stuff. Well, after a few conversations, it kind of led into, well, I'm looking for a school to her to go to. Well, then lo and behold, he checked into LSA, because I talked about how well LSA was, yes, and how you can grow your faith there, and it's just a great school. And his daughter goes to school at LSA now. So that in itself, I think, was a win right there, because she's getting a little exposure that she would have never gotten probably anywhere else. So,
what would you say to those people who, they're afraid of doing this? They might not know how to start a conversation, just are hesitant. There's those things holding them back. What would you say to them?
First of all, I don't think you really need to browbeat somebody, with the Bible, and I certainly don't do that out there. But I think basically saying nothing at all goes miles. Most people now know that I'm raising my grandchildren. I think that speaks some volumes. They know that I'm a regular church attender. And I think that, like I said, you don't have to browbeat people, but if you do find an opportunity just to say a couple of words, just to, maybe, if somebody has an objection a strong objection to the Bible, just have them clarify. To say, what do you mean by that? I don't understand what you mean. Then you can throw a little word or two in there and just say, well, have you considered this? And no, I've never even heard of that before. Then you can maybe start a conversation, and then it just goes from there. Just plant the seed, like you've always taught me, Pastor Mark.
I love that. Start with a question. The curiosity leads to then an opportunity.
It does. You need to put the ball back in their court, because a lot of people aren't expecting that.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.